think that the reason that the UK media keeps asking Harry and Meghan to come back to the UK, which for most normal people seems utterly insane, that these abusers, these haters, would also simultaneously want Harry and in particular Meghan to come back to the UK, even though everyone knows they don't want Meghan there. And they have even told her to leave, which she did. But now, every now and then, you hear somebody like the Sun or the Express or something make just utterly preposterous commands, demands about Harry coming back or Meghan coming back. And I just, for the life of me, I can't really make sense of it. I'm like, why do they keep doing that? Everybody knows that they don't want the Sussexes there, in particular Meghan. But then I realized, you know what? The royal family, to be honest with you, and to be frank, and to be, totally devoid of wanting to be a villain, but they are quite boring and rusty without Harry and Meghan. I mean, there just really is nothing there. It's a nothing burger at the moment with the royal family in terms of any characters that people want to see and talk about. I mean, Princess Anne, for example, she could make a million appearances if she wants. I would be surprised if she gets any press, and if she does, it would be very, very minimal, right? And that story in and of itself would probably get 0 clicks or close to zero. So it becomes a business issue for the owners of these publications. You put Anne in the paper that she made an appearance. This is great. It takes up space. This is great. But nobody's clicking on the story. Nobody cares about it. We're not making money. We're losing money. We're going under. We're drowning. Ditto for Camilla. Camilla is not much better than Anne, except insofar as she's the sitting queen. So that there is some deference there. But beyond that, and the fact, that she's married to this man and, their controversial coupling, there's not much there to bring in the eyeballs and to generate revenues for the owners of these publications like The Sun, like the Daily Mail, like The Guardian, and so on and so forth. There's just nothing. She's rusty, she's boring. It's a nothing burger. And so, just like Princess Anne, you just have a situation where, okay, put all the stories you want of Camilla in the paper. No one's going to click on it. Dress her in all the designers you want, from Dior to God knows what else. No one cares. It's not going to drive sales. The fact that, well, okay, maybe for some people, in her generation, but, you know, Camilla and her husband, King Charles, with all due respect, there's a rust that has set in. It's very rusty. Their story is rusty. You can see the rust. The other day they were talking about the rot set in when Meghan arrived, and I just thought that was so funny and so desperate, because it's a rot and it's a rut. It's an ROT and an RUT, but it has nothing to do with Meghan. I mean, King Charles, he and Camilla, his wife, they just did that tour of Australia and Samoa as I was speaking. They're probably on their way back to the UK. And the UK media was present, but very few international media, to my understanding, were present on the ground to run stories about this trip. The only thing that was interesting about this trip was when it went viral that King Charles was shouted out of the Parliament by one of the MPs in Canberra in Australia, I believe. And so it's just he's rusty, he's rusty, he's boring. You know, the old guard of the royal family is gone. The golden days of the British royal family are behind them. Unless a new generation of royals can generate some sparks, like maybe George in 10 years, 20 years, whatever the case may be, George might be in a very interesting relationship or do something really interesting and brings back the luster and the sparks for this, certainly up until now, revered institution. But as of this moment that I'm making this video, I think it's fair to say and to conclude that the glory days of the royal family died with people like King Charles, his father, and his mother, Queen Elizabeth, and her husband, right? The Duke of Edinburgh. Um, I don't even remember Prince Philip, right? Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, when they were young, in their 30s and 40s, they captivated the nation, obviously. It was around the time of the Second World War. They were young, they were vibrant, they were beautiful, they were hope for the future. And England really rallied around her as a young queen, and they stuck with her because she did the job well, and she was beautiful to look at. And we are a youth obsessed species, right? We prefer youth over old. And that's to all of our detriment. It's not just to the people who are old today, it's to everybody who ever enters the earth. If they are lucky enough to live beyond, say, 29, they start to have to contend with this idea that they're somehow past their prime, right? We prefer, Princess Diana, in a certain way, she was the only one who got it right of the group because she checked out at 36 or some age like that, just very, very young. So she's immortalized in our imagination, in our minds forever as just young, right? But the rest of us, if we live to be over 30, we start to have to contend with people saying, oh, we're old, we're this, we're that, we're wrinkled with this and with that. That all said, there's no question that Harry and Meghan bring something new and fresh and different, and yes, young, to the royal family, which is otherwise rusty, rotting, and boring. I hate to say it, but it's true. There's something very uninteresting about the royal family at the moment. Very dull, very old, very, has been, very sort of unchic, unstylish, uninteresting, right? You look everywhere. You look to Kate, she's sidelined with cancer and probably will always be associated with that disease, right? For the rest of her life, when people look at her, all they're going to see is the big C word, right? So she has lost forever any chance that she really had of being truly glamorous or representing glamour for the royal family. Now she represents sickness, disease, and the big C word, right? And I have said that I believe that whole thing was, a stunt, and I'm sticking to it. It's my belief. I could be wrong, but that's my belief, right? But it's to her detriment. So I don't know why anyone would do that to themselves, right? But that's why I think they need Harry and Meghan in the royal family, because the rest of the characters are either dead, respectfully, they're old, respectfully, or they're just boring, respectfully. And if they're not any of those three things, right, dead, old, and boring, then it's a question that they have caused rust and rot to permeate everything. So people are not really seeing the royal family the same way that they used to see the royal family when Queen Elizabeth was alive, and certainly more so when she was a young woman and able to inspire a nation, right? Now you don't have anyone inspiring anybody. King Charles and Camilla are not inspiring. Harry, certainly not in the way that Harry is. Harry's still youthful enough that he can go to places, and he's 40, and 40, as I've said before in a recent video, is the new 2025. You know, he has these young, beautiful children. He's dynamic. He's people friendly. He's a cutie patootie, so it's easy on the eyes. People like to look at him. And he has his beautiful modern wife, right? Who could, with him, had a modern monarchy in a way that could bring new life to this fading, rusting, increasingly boring institution, right? They can really bring new life, new luster. But they really lost an opportunity, in particular King Charles and Queen Camilla, when they decided to excommunicate and turn their back on Harry and Meghan, evict them from their home at Frogmore, and cut them off from the rest of the royal family. But, they bit off their own nose despite their faces, and they will just have to pay the consequences, right? Because right now, as I said, people looking are thinking they are very boring and just very rusty. Anyway, that's all for this one, you guys. Thank you for listening. If you got to the end of the video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment of your own thoughts about what I just said. If you're not subscribed, that's really, really important, and be really, really cool if you subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates. Bye.